Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny De Lillo. I'm delighted to be joined with Samir, who we're both in the same city, but we're doing this virtually with his incredible movie Vest. But for those that haven't seen it, let's take a look at a clip. Samir, I'm just so happy that you made this film, but there are people that may not have seen it. So for those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis.
Yeah, thank you. So Vest is about a boy, Ali, who is a foster kid and he doesn't speak. And he gets into a fight with his foster family and ends up running away and gets himself into a situation of mistaken identity that has perilous consequences. So that's the setup.
I'm so glad you made this story because I don't think we see enough of stories like this. I work with new children myself, and I don't think it's a really hard thing for a family to go through. And on top of that, mistaken identity in the most horrific way that I think again needs to be spoken about as well. Where did the inspiration come for you in creating this project?
It was from a few sources. So like I often do, I'll see a film or a TV show and then kind of get an idea for that. So I saw Capernaum, which is just such a brilliant film. And, oh, wow, this is such a great, idea to have this like kind of man child, and tell a story from that point of view, and see a world from that point of view. So that was one seed. Then I read an article about a guy who got mistaken, for a terrorist, and that reading about this guy and what happened to him kind of set off some thinking for me, and just connecting that to my own personal experience of feeling like an imposter. I think a lot of people who are like me, second generation, we have imposter syndrome, like permanently. And so I certainly felt that, from a personal point of view. And then the third thing was I went through a lot of change, a lot of personal stuff around death in my family. And so I moved to London as a kind of a new start, new family, new life, children, all that stuff. And so I went through a kind of process in myself, and in a way, this was my attempt to dramatize that from an emotional perspective. So all of those three things kind of mixed together.
Wow.
And I wanted to create what I call a family thriller. So I wanted to kind of draw a line between what happens inside a family and the fear and the love inside a family, and connect that to what happens in the society, in a thriller. I wanted to see if I could kind of take a family drama and a thriller and, squish them together, which is a lot in 12 minutes, admittedly. And maybe it's too much, I don't know. But that's what I was wanting to do. And I wanted to have this big turn in the film, where suddenly like everything changes and almost kind of tonally kind of changes as well. And to see if I could pull that off,
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the whole thing in a nutshell in terms of the thinking.
Yeah, I'm wow. I mean, Samir, I love that you turn all of these things into a story. I mean, it's incredible, and taking some of your obviously personal experiences as well. I was so happy to see a British family, because I don't think there's enough film, particularly in the United States, that really shows the great diversity of London, for example, and that was really refreshing, and so glad that you found this great family. But let's just talk about your actors, because I'm like, wow, like the mom, the child, I mean, everybody was just great. Like, how did you find, they were brilliant?
Yeah, well, this is one of the reasons I moved to London is just because I knew that I could connect to really talented South Asian actors, because that's really like the focus of what I want to do with all my work is explore
Great.
stories in that milieu, at least for now. Maybe it's going to
Yeah.
change, but so the level of acting that you can find is so high. And I worked with this amazing casting director, Carmel Cochran, and she found most of the people. Sarah just came in, for the audition, and
Wow.
I think with Sarah, she really is that character. I mean, it's pretty much her. It's very close to her experience. Even in terms of where she's from. She's from like Northwest London.
Mhm.
She kind of grew up in that world. And the kid Afraz, amazing. I mean, the guy's never acted before. It's just a complete
What?
natural. It's insane. Yeah. No, the only thing he had done was he played a young Riz Ahmed in Bassam Tariq's film
Oh, wow.
Mogul Mowgli, but he ended up getting cut mostly from that film. But I think he had a very small part in that film, and they had found him, and through a contact I had got in touch with Bassam, and he sent me Afraz, and that was my biggest concern. Obviously, going into how can we find a strong actor? He's basically like a junior Riz Ahmed, as far as I'm concerned. And has this kind of stoic style, like
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood. He's like a little brown
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood. That's insane.
He's mesmerizing to
He,
watch.
he is,
He's mesmerizing.
he really is. He's unbelievable. I honestly hardly directed him. I'm not kidding. I mean, we
Wow.
did a lot of pre work in terms of rehearsing. So, this is my first narrative. So I'm kind of like
Wow.
bringing everything from starting in documentary to all my work in commercials, and now I'm going into narrative. So I'm trying to bring in a bunch of the different kind of approaches I've collected
Hmm.
over working in different mediums or working in
Yeah.
different styles, let's say. So one of
Yeah.
them is, um, working with the actors, but in a way that kind of lets them embody their characters and give them sense memory to really draw things out without getting too prescriptive right away. So one
Mhm.
thing we did was, we went on a trip to the beach together as a family unit
Oh,
to,
nice.
to kind of like create a dynamic between them. And it totally worked. You end up um, creating this kind of family dynamic, right, between mom and son, and then daughter and
Yeah.
father. That's how it was in my family too, right? It was always me and my mom versus me and my dad. I think a lot of families have that kind of
Yeah.
dynamic, and often it is that mother son father daughter thing. So I wanted to kind of like build that into them, through real memories. And then we actually did, quite a bit of rehearsing, and they were amazing working with me. So when it came time to shoot, like first couple takes, like we were kind of like that. A lot of the takes we used are like the first couple takes.
Wow, you're gifted with this. That's incredible. Wow.
Well,
Now
thank you.
I cannot believe that you filmed in a tube station. I think I need to know, how was that process,
I
because
mean,
it was incredible.
yeah, I mean, um, well, they rejected me like several times, first of all. So TFL,
Yeah.
like I think I don't know how, two or three times they were like they were like, no, terrorism, fuck this, like and I was just like, okay, but like like Mission Impossible or whatever can do it, so why can't
Yeah.
we? You know what I mean? And this isn't about that. It's not, so I had to kind of like write them a letter and say, no, it's please, like this, it's not, it's about family, which it is, right? It's about like, it's not about that. It's just, that's just, in the background.
Yeah.
Uh, So the whole thing wasn't going to work, actually. In fact, the whole thing wasn't going to work multiple times. I mean, it's a short. It's like,
Wow.
it's always, I lost my DP like 5 days before the shoot. Had to
Oh
bring in another one.
God.
I had to find another. So anyway, but no, we look. I mean, you can get a tube station. In London, it's not a big deal. I mean, there's two stations that you can get. It just you got to pay for it.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not the same scale for Mission Impossible as it is for a little tiny short.
Yeah, no, of course, but I mean, it was just amazing. It's not often you see that, and I was just,
Yeah,
I was left afraid at the end. It was
I
like
really wanted to run into the tunnel. That was like a thing for me. I was like, we got to have a real station. We got to like, because I'm always like, what is behind those tunnels? Every time I
yes,
take the subway, I'm
yes,
like, what is back there? I'm always
yeah,
curious about it, and I really wanted to like go in there. And it's like, it's a bit scary because you go down, and we had, you know, you can't touch. It's very, they have to turn off the track, and if somebody touches it, they'll die. But obviously they turn it off. But it's still
goodness,
scary, anyways.
yeah,
And we couldn't like. You couldn't go to the bathroom or anything down there. You had to like, and it was like a huge walk up. This is an unused station, right? So
oh
it's,
wow,
and London has a lot of these. I mean, not a lot, but there's a lot. There's about 5 or 6 of them that are unused.
wow, it's amazing. Well, I mean, listen, you've obviously had an amazing career in different areas in commercials, etc. What was it like going into make a narrative film, and because we have quite a filmmaking audience, any advice for anyone who is about to make their first film or transferring kind of genres of type of film?
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a bunch of advice. I would say, first of all, you have to learn to write yourself. I think if you're someone like me, generally, like writing is not your strong suit most of the time. So you have to learn how to write. So this was the first thing I wrote that I was like, okay, this is halfway decent, after like years of trying to write. So I think, just keep doing it, keep developing, keep making mistakes, and just do it. I mean, just go out and do it. I was like, I decided, after trying to do features and not finishing anything, and always having these like unfinished things, I was just like, this year I'm going to make something. I'm just going to finish it. Like, that's it. I'm going to fucking finish this thing,
Yeah,
and I don't care what happens. I'm going to finish this thing. Right.
yeah,
And I feel like I needed that, because there was times when it was like, oh, well, it's, X, Y, Z, and it's, we should really wait till blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, we're not waiting. We're doing it. Let's go. And
yeah,
had I waited, right, of course, like, we saw what happened, like the COVID and all that stuff. So I think that's my number one piece of advice, is just decide you're going to do it, and just do it, you know?
yeah,
And,
yeah,
and I think if it doesn't have to be perfect, that's the other thing. I think one thing that stops people from doing stuff, and I think this is something that, professional writers really understand, is that, you got to work the script, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I
yeah,
think in retrospect, I could have spent longer on developing the script. Probably if I was going to do it again, I'd probably spend longer on making sure the
mhm,
script is tight. But at one point, you've got to just kind of pull the trigger, trust the process, and just
yeah,
dive in, and know that it's going to evolve. Right.
yeah.
I mean, it's not going
Yeah,
to be
oh,
what you.
absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, listen, there's many factors into where the inspiration come in making this project, and I'm just curious. I took so much from your film, so many
Thank
different
you.
levels. I really did. I can't tell you how refreshing it was to see a British South Asian family at our film festival, because I don't think we see enough of that, over in America. From the
Hmm.
perspective of UK, fostering, just what a job that is. Mute children that have gone through really difficult times. There's just so much in there that was just really fantastic. And I'm just curious for you, like, what did you want your audience to take from the film?
It's a good question. I think the main thing for me is that that my experience of family, which is kind of, fear and love together, is to come out with having gone through that kind of journey, where you feel those two emotions and the story kind of turns on that, and feeling that that sense at the end of family togetherness, that no matter how painful it can be, or how much fighting there is, how much conflict there is, at the end, you know, the family comes together, the family stays together. It's through the going into the tunnel, right? Going into the darkness, confronting that, that you end up getting together, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the message that I'm trying to convey. It's that, you know, we have to go through those things.
Yeah.
And I think personally, I had just come out of like the most, you know, difficult period of my life.
Yeah.
And this was, you know, a kind of the first kind of light out of that. And that's why at the end,
Yeah.
you know, he says light, right? That's the
Yes.
last
Yes,
thing
yes,
the character says. He says light. That's his first word. And that was a very important concept for me.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I mean, the ending is just, it's just so wonderful. And everything you just said about just coming together and just, you know, getting through all the pain and agony that we go through in families. It was just wonderful. And I wish, like, the character of the mom, she's just amazing. Like, I was like, oh my God, what a mom, what a mom, what a mom.
Yeah.
What is next for you, Samir?
Yeah. So I'm developing a TV series called Migrants, that I'm in the process of writing now, and I'm super excited about it, you know, and
Yeah.
it's taking some of the same themes, tonally a little bit different, but you know, again, it's exploring stories around immigration, assimilation, addiction, but from the point of view of the second generation. So that's really critical for me, is, you know, being a part of this wave of storytelling that's coming out now, you know, led by people like Riz Ahmed, of just, you know, stories from the second generation perspective that are more concerned with identity in the kind of, you know, classical sense, as opposed to the sort of ethnic sense.
Yeah. All right. I already want to watch it now. Can you just hurry up? I'm on season 5, episode 3 already.
Oh
in my
man.
head.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
listen, I'm so glad you made this film. I'm still thinking about it.
Thank you so much.
Honestly, it was brilliant. And please,
you.
you know, looking forward to seeing your next work. But thanks so much, great to New Filmmakers, man.
Thank you so much, Danny, and to everybody at the festival. Thank you.
Thank you.